Very good morning, viewers. So, as you can see, you are in my kitchen today. Did something happen? No. Okay. So, this is the first episode of the Kitchen Bulletin with NeUp. So, as I've always mentioned, I am also a wife, apart from being a founding editor. And, I'm just making these for the day when I decided that, I'll go on a live stream and let's make this a little engaging and interesting and also kind of share some recipes with you. So this today is makki along with jawar ka atta and normal multigrain atta. And this has some methi in it. And I have boiled potatoes. Let's see the status of those potatoes. I think they're almost done. So let me just get them cooled down. And then we peel them and add them to this for some kind of kachoris. I'll try to do this in an air fryer, but I for 9 months can have a lot of oil. I don't know about you. Along with that, I am making some idli because I really like light food in the morning. And it's very important to replenish yourself. So while I am a tea lover, I just have it once a day because it's not good for, your body gets heated up. Now, while we are, cooking, let's get to the updates of the day. The petrol and diesel prices have risen by almost 3 rupees in 15 days. So that's like 5 rupees for 5 days. I mean, this is something you've got to consider that every 15 days, it's 3 rupees has risen. So every 5 days, 1 rupee there is इजाफा हुआ है in prices में, which is very concerning. So the finance minister had to step in and give a statement yesterday. You can check out media outlets for the same. And apart from that, the Twitter Sharma case is, now reached the Supreme Court. And 4 days have been given to the accused, the potential accused, to make their point in front of the Honorable Court. And apart from that, we've got the Cockroach Janata Party, we've got the Cockroach Party of India, and we've got the Cockroach Awami League. So I have not really well, these look sumptuous. So I like to add a little bit of, pulses and everything to make my idlis look good. Let me see if I can turn the camera and show you the product fixing back. Yeah, so this is my idli, and I just made four because it's a one portion meal. My husband is at work, so he doesn't like to take breakfast. And now, when we talk about the prices, that is going to be the topic for today. Okay, we come back to cockroach and party. That's not very big of an issue for me. Let me just be honest. And well, I can't stand a lot something I realized. But yeah, I mean, the Cockroach Janata Party is one of the topics that we'll discuss because I've really avoided it in the media frenzy that we've had. Because my focus is on the Krishna Sharma case, but now that the case has reached the Supreme Court, because of the efforts of journalists like me, and I would say that in the digital sphere, the NeUp has been the only forum which has, relentlessly spoken to psychologists, married women, lawyers, and analysts to be able to come to this conclusion that a suo motu cognizance was taken by the CJI. But before I move to the petrol prices, let me also point out that if you think that the CJI is very concerned about Trisha Sharma, let me correct you there. Everything in this world has a reason. I am sure that you know that already, but let me just apprise your knowledge on this. So, let me just come a little bit on the Cockroach Janata Party front. What happened was that the CJI called young lawyers who probably use ChatGPT, like most of the corporate employees that we have, as young cockroaches. Okay. And the reason he used the word cockroaches is because he was lashing out at fake degrees. He was lashing out, at the entitlement of the new generation. And he was lashing out at, um, probably issues that the Honorable Supreme Court might have been facing with a younger generation. So you have to realize that in every profession that you enter, be it teaching, be it journalism, be it, law, or be it medicine, there is always a conflict between the young and the old. So this conflict, is going to be eternal, is something that I can tell you with conviction. So you have to understand that the CGI frustration comes from a place of being frustrated from his own children also. Like we always have a reflection of, our households in our workplaces. So it's completely understandable, if the CGI is frustrated for whatever reasons, because, there's so much backlog and he has a big chair to, hold and everything like that. But, you've got to understand that you cannot call a generation which is a defining generation for this millennium as cockroaches. Now, narrative setting is something that, can tell that cockroaches are basically, they adapt and they are very agile, and, they actually, they crop up from everywhere and anywhere. But you have to understand that they are the most ugly and irritating creatures. So comparing a whole generation to cockroaches is something that I personally condemn, coming from a zillennial perspective, because I am a cusp of Gen Z and millennials. I would say that, such terminology from a CGI is not anticipated. Okay. Uh, uh, so, of course, there is a possibility that the Twisha Sharma case cognizance was a diversion tactic. You cannot deny that. Okay. Uh, Having said that, we've got to, commend the basically the courts for upholding the rights of both the parties in a way. I mean, of course, there's a human cry on why the media cannot report, why the judges are so scared of media trials, because we've got to go back in history and understand that Jessica Lal case. Manu Sharma is the son of a very influential BJP leader, and his brother Kartik Sharma and his wife Aishwarya Sharma now run the ITV network, which comprises of the NewsX and the India News group. Okay, so you've got to understand that Manu Sharma today runs Indri, and there was a backlash. So digital media jab nahi tha, then is when, the TV media actually relentlessly pursued this case, and Manu was brought to justice. Of course, he was later, released on grounds of, having polite behavior and everything, which is fine. See, I mean, whatever reason was there to suit Jessica, um, the courts understood that he was a normal citizen otherwise. um, what I can see live is that Karnataka, the CM tussle between Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar has reached Delhi. So you have to understand that very recently there was a news report that Sonia Gandhi, the ex-president of the Congress and, the chairperson of the AICC, was admitted to a Gurgaon hospital. She's not been keeping well. And in this tussle, when her own daughter and her son are, now flag bearers of the Indian National Congress, there is a lot of discord between, and you must be remembering the same kind of tussle between Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot, the same kind of tussle between Jyotiraditya Scindia, who's now in the BJP, and Kamal Nath, and now it's reached DK Shiv Kumar and Siddaramaiah. So the pattern is very simple and connected to the Cockroach Janata Party. Ageism is something that has to be tackled with. See, old age is something that is inevitable. But if old people, they do not leave, their positions of power, or basically, for the younger generation to come up and take up responsibility, of course, there's going to be a conflict. And we've seen the Gen Z revolution in Nepal. The Cockroach Janata Party, I feel, is India's answer to that. And of course, the head is sitting in the US, but he's a young guy. He's very social media savvy. The whole concept, resonated with people without even digital media. Now, coming to Marco Rubio, Secretary of State of the US's visit to India, I can see on the screen he's sitting with the EAM S.J. Shankar and the US Ambassador to India, Sergio Gore. So there's a standby for Quad foreign ministers meet in India. Uh, and the core foreign ministers meet is today in New Delhi. The economic fallout from West Asia crisis is on the agenda. So as we've been embroiled in the Trisha Sharma case, the Cockroach Janata Party, and uh, these internal tussles of politicians, you've got to understand that LPG crisis is with us since March. This is May, the end of May. We're going into June. So calculate the months. April, May, June, a whole quarter, AMJ, if you know the quarter results. So 3 months this war has stretched what used to be assumed to be a week, right? So Afghanistan, basically, I read something like that. So this economic fallout from the West Asia crisis, of course, Indo-Pacific security and West Asia crisis. That's the focus of this meet between the EAM and foreign ministers. Meet begins. Jaishankar addresses leaders. Okay, so what we've got to understand is that the West Asia crisis is not a one-day affair, and the U.S. president is known for his taco techniques. Trump always chickens out. So, of course, based on why was he killed, the Khamenei, the head of state for Iran, Ali Ayatollah Khamenei, his son Mojtaba Khamenei lost his wife, lost his mother, lost his daughter, and he is in a vegetative state. So he is taking vigilance of everything. He is told to be in a very sharp mental condition. The foreign minister and the president of Iran were also, in some kind of tussle for their differences in opinion and leadership style. But this is a crisis in their country. It was brought upon them because of the manipulation of Israel. And the whole Great Israel theory is something that you can also follow up. But you've got to understand that the Epstein files were also a tool to get the US to act on Iran. Coming to Marco Rubio's visit, it's been a very interesting one, though not very covered in the US because the US is very focused on Iran. India is very focused on Tushar Sharma and Cockroach Janata Party. So it wasn't very covered. I can see the Australian foreign minister. Uh, she is, yes, Penny Wong. She's addressing the foreign ministers meet. Let's tune up the volume and see. Can hear some
Washington, I think. And he spoke about choices and about doing what we can together to ensure that the Indo-Pacific and the countries within it have the freedom of choice on their security and on asserting their sovereign interests, the freedom of choice on their development and on the future of the region we all share. And that is central to how Australia approaches our engagement in the
Will we
world.
not screaming
This
everything
partnership
because
and
there's a
this meeting
copyright fear?
matters so much to Australia.
So, of course, we understand that the Quad is comprised of the US, Japan, India, and Australia. This was made in the beginning of the 21st century as a response to the 2004 Japan tsunami, which also hit India. So you've got to understand that these nations are partners. Okay, um, so we are in the world's largest democracy, is what he's saying. Australian FM Penny Wong, she is talking about the association of Quad, and Quad must be driver of global growth and stability, as said by our foreign minister. Varied interests, but Penny Wong, the Australian FM, is talking of varied interests of the countries involved, but also pointing out at some kind of synergy to basically benefit all the nations together. And Quad must be a driver of global growth and stability, is what our FM has said. Okay, let's also tune into some other channels and see what's going on in the world. Okay, the Twitter Sharma case again. ABC update. Yes, so the CBI has taken over the case. This is a big win for the media, is what I would say. Because, if the media was not involved, you would not have a speedy trial. You would not have suo motu cognizance taken by the CJI. You would not have what you can call a fair trial, because relentlessly Giribala Singh, the accused mother-in-law, the mother-in-law of the deceased, she has been slandering her character. Her son has been slandering his dead wife's character, and there are speculations that he was probably gay, which is why he doubted the sexuality and the paternity of the child born by Twisha. So it's a very murky case, and we've got Deepika Thakkar case in Greater Noida and Ghaziabad area where she had very much trauma injuries. Even in Trisha's body, there has been signs of physical abuse. As I can see in the Quad discussions, the Quad Delhi dialogue, Quad foreign ministers meeting, I can see the Japan FM making a statement. Okay, we've not got a very good dose of feed from, not just feed, but pickers from NDTV. Let's go back to the public. We'll also tune into NDTV once. Yeah, everybody is a little slow. I miss my days in broadcast. I was faster. But I do understand their compulsions as well. India today, I am the- okay. अभिषेक बैनर्जी के घर पहुंची पुलिस. Okay. I think that is an outdated. Huh? Let's go to India today. Hmm. The US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is making a statement. India has said that the focus on Indo-Pacific region is on their cards. The supply chain resilience. India has talked about the need for the supply chain resilience. Australia has talked about the nation's need of freedom of choice. So, as we know that Canada and India had very bruised relations, but after Mark Carney, the new Liberal leader, after succeeding his own boss Justin Trudeau, he is basically steering towards better energy ties with India. So, as we can hear Marco Rubio, what is it?
Notes about areas of common interest, but also, and it now is an increasingly become.
The Foreign Minister of Japan, Penny Wong, Foreign Minister of Australia, she's made a statement. This is the Foreign Ministers meet for Quad, okay? And we've got Quad Power Block.
Energy, whether it's the freedom of navigation, whether it's the need to diversify supplies of not just energy, but critical minerals and supply chains. These are areas where all four of our countries, collectively and individually, can bring tremendous assets to bear in terms of solving these problems.
So we've got to understand that the US is asking for energy diversification. And I mean, for those advocating for climate change, this has been a discussion that has been going on for decades now. Since the 1970s, sustainable development is something on the cards. But now that you've got the Iran crisis, is when countries are waking up to the reality of having diversified energy resources. And of course, the US administration is known for drill baby drill, but seeing that their oil has to be processed with different machinery, so Russia and Iran cannot be moved out of the whole crude oil situation. So the the petrodollar is basically rising, and we are seeing the impact in after the Indian elections. You've got price hikes as well. So the significance of Quad is something that India today is explaining. It's boosting maritime security because, of course, these four countries share, water resources, and this expands economic cooperation and infra projects. Now, viewers, apart from the Quad meet and the whole critical mineral crisis, and resetting India-US ties, as Rubio is in New Delhi, we've also got to understand that he was faced with a very pertinent question. So there is a whole narrative of, India being very low in press freedom, and the Norwegian journalist, just got very, what you can say, very, very famous for that. And the only familiarity she had with India was Naan and, our cinema, which is funny. How I can comment on Pakistan being, just consuming their Coke studio music, or, their kebabs. So, when it comes to Rubio, senior journalist Siddharth Sibyl, he asked Rubio on the kind of remarks that, people like Laura Loomer have made. And she was in India recently, and she completely turned 180 degrees. But, other liberal leaders, and, the right wingers as well, who were probably close to India before, they've all, talked about India's dominance, and H-1B visas were questioned and all of that jazz. So, a very pertinent question. And of course, Rubio was a little taken aback, but he answered that stupid people make a lot of stupid remarks. Okay, so that's it for the kitchen bulletin with NeUp. Let me just go check up on my food. And I also urge you guys to, keep watching NeUp and other news outlets for the latest news updates. We will meet soon with a panel, likely in the evening, for the Fisher Sharma case. We will be relentlessly pursuing this case. We will be continuing with our media trial. We are not directly talking to the accused or the accusing parties, but we are talking to analysts, psychologists, lawyers, and the like, to bring the latest updates to you, bring the latest analysis to you, bring the latest views to you, and give you a very broad perspective on things. So keep watching NeUp for the latest news and updates. See you on the other side in the evening.